A while back, I made a video about design choices that make an expensive kitchen look cheap. I didn't expect the response I got, but over and over again, people kept asking me the same question. Okay, Ariana, then what actually makes a kitchen look expensive? So let's talk about that. And I'll tell you right now where this is going. Almost none of this has to do with how much you spend. I walked into kitchens that cost $300,000 and I felt nothing. And then I walked into kitchens that cost a fraction of that and I stopped in the doorway. Not because they were bigger, not because they were more expensive material. There was just something about them. The difference wasn't the budget. It was a series of intentional design decisions that completely changed how the space felt. And once you know what they are, you will start noticing them everywhere. I'm Ariana Adireh Anderson, founder of ARIID Group here in Kirkland. For more than 25 years, I've been designing homes. I've been honored with 2 national NKBA design awards. And because our company doesn't just design these homes, we actually build them too. And this part really matters. Anyone can create something that looks beautiful in the renderings at a design presentation. Now, the real question is, will it still be beautiful after it has been built? And after 5 years of a family using it, dinners, holiday gathering, coffee spilled on the countertops, homework being done, and everyday life. And that's the lens I am looking through in this video. Not only if it will look expensive on the installation day, but will it still look expensive years later? Here are 11 design choices that will elevate a kitchen. And number 11 is my favorite, because it's the one that almost nobody expects. It's also the only thing on this list that doesn't cost a single dollar. So stay with me for that one. Let's start with my favorite moves. This is the one I reach for in almost any kitchen design. Take your countertop stone and run it straight up the wall, behind the range, all the way behind the hood, all the way to the ceiling. One continuous slab. No tile, no transitions, no little edge collecting grease. This is why it feels so expensive. Your eyes naturally loves continuity. When they can travel across surface without stopping, the entire kitchen feels calmer, taller, more intentionally. Instead of seeing the separation of pieces come together, it creates a one custom design. And if this were my kitchen, I love it for another reason. There isn't really grout line behind the stove that starts collecting that grease over years. It's one of those design decisions that is both beautiful and practical. A high stone backsplash tells someone that it's been thought through, every detail. That's what makes it luxurious. The next one changes the kitchen more than anyone realizes, and that's paneling the appliances. Give your refrigerator and a dishwasher a cabinet front so they will disappear into the cabinetry. Now, I'll be honest, the first time clients see a price for a panel, they might be a little bit shocked, but here's what they really are paying for. The moment you stop seeing the giant stainless steel box and the control panels, and the brand and the logos, the kitchen stops feeling like an appliance collection and starts feeling like a room. Your eye notices the cabinetry. It will notice the stone, the lighting, not the huge refrigerator. If it was my kitchen, the refrigerator would be one of the last things I would want my eyes to land on. Expensive kitchen feels architectural. They don't feel like an appliance showroom. Here's another one that you will never unsee once someone will point it out to you. Take your cabinetry all the way to the ceiling. That empty gap so many kitchens leave above the cabinetry, the one that collects dust and a row of decorative baskets that no one actually uses, is the one quickest way of making a kitchen feel builder grade. When a cabinetry reaches the ceiling, the room immediately feels taller and more intentional. It looks like custom design. Personally, I'll rather have one cabinet that needs a stool to reach in than something that collects dust and clutter. Use the height, finish the wall. A kitchen that reaches the ceiling feels custom. A kitchen that stops short, well, it usually doesn't. This one might surprise people because matching everything feels like a safe choice, but kitchens that look more sophisticated almost never match. They coordinate, and that's the biggest difference. Maybe it's warm brass on a lighting and a different finish on a faucet, another tone on a hardware, wood next to stone, matte finishes balanced with a little bit of shine. Now, before you panic, I'm not saying you need 5 different finishes. 2 or 3 that work together usually is all you need. When every finish feels identical, the room can feel like it was ordered from one catalog in one afternoon. When the materials complete each other, instead of matching perfectly, the kitchen starts to feel layered. collected, intentional. Matching feels purchased. Mixing feels designed. If I could move one part of the budget, it would be here. Spend your money on things your hands touch every single day. For example, your faucets, your cabinetry handles, your drawer guides, because the kitchen reveals its quality the second you use it. A cheap faucet feels light, hollow. After a few years of use, it will start dripping. Now, a quality faucet will feel the weight. It moves with resistance. It feels solid every single time you touch it. The same goes for drawers. Cheap one will rattle. Good ones will glide open effortless and close with a soft, quiet finish. I've gone back to homes years after they have been done, and those details tell the true story. If it's were my money or my investment, I would put things into things that are touched every single day. These are the things you'll notice. Luxury isn't only visual, it's also tactile. Now, lighting is where so many beautiful kitchens falls apart. It's also where the best kitchen separates themselves. A ceiling full of recessed can light gives that one flat layered lighting. It's functional, but it's not beautiful. The kitchen that feels expensive has layers. General lighting to fill the room, task lighting exactly where you're doing the food prep, accent lighting that creates the atmosphere, large pendants over an island, or a beautiful decorative chandelier. And every single light should be on a dimmer, because your kitchen should not feel the same at 7 o'clock in the morning as it does during the dinner time with friends. Now, for my kitchen, every light should be adjustable, no exception. Lighting has an incredible ability to elevate even a most modest material. And poor lighting can make a most expensive material feel flat. Layer your lighting. The entire room will change. This next one is probably the hardest for people to do. It costs absolutely nothing. Leaving some space empty. Protect a section of your countertop and let it breathe. We're naturally tempted to fill every available surface, but the more objects competing for attention, the smaller and the more busier the room will feel. Luxury always leaves room for where your eyes can rest. Now, empty doesn't mean cold. It simply means choosing few beautiful things and giving them space instead of filling every single inch with something. In my kitchen designs, I intentionally keep one place in the countertop completely clear. I protect it because restraint is one of the greatest luxury there is. Sometimes it's the hardest design decision to not include objects. Here's another place where expensive and inexpensive design completely separates. Choosing materials that become more beautiful as they age. Some finishes peak the day they are installed and slowly decline from there. The materials that always feel timeless tend to do the opposite. Natural stone develops character, solid wood grains becomes warmer, unlacquered brass develops that patina that's impossible to fake. Even if people cannot explain it, they can feel the difference between something that's authentic and something that's pretending to be authentic. In my kitchen designs, I'd rather use a small amount of real materials than cover every surface with imitation. Cheap materials try to stay brand new forever. Beautiful materials are allowed to age gracefully. The kitchen that feels the most expensive looks built, not bought. I'm talking about the details. The hood surrounds that feels like it's part of an architecture. An island with furniture style like legs. Featured brass instead of looking like a giant block. Finished and panels. Millwork that feels intentional. These aren't the things that homeowner notice, but these are the exact details the designers fight for during design presentations, because once construction is finished, these details are the things that will make your home feel custom. In my kitchens, I invest in millwork before I spend money chasing trends. Anyone can buy cabinets. A custom kitchen feels intentional, beautiful, and timeless. This one is invisible until someone gets it wrong. And its proportions. Hood has to fit the wall. Pendants have to fit the island. Not 3 tiny fixtures floating over a 9-foot island because someone thought, well, bigger islands just need more lights. The island itself has to be proportionate to the room. When proportions are right, no one notices. They feel comfortable. When they are wrong, then even an expensive material cannot save the space. When we design kitchens, I like to mock up everything in 3D renderings. And then we come out on site and ensure that they are installed properly. I have my electrician hold the pendant. I stand back, I walk around. Getting proportions and installing installation heights are crucial. Good proportion is what turns an expensive materials into an expensive room. All right, let's talk about the last one, number 11. The one I told you doesn't really cost even a penny. And after more than 25 years, I honestly think this might be the most important thing on the list. The kitchens that look the most expensive are almost always most edited, not the ones with the most going on, the ones when someone knows when to stop. One beautiful statement instead of 5, one materials leading instead of 6 competing for attentions. I walked into kitchens where homeowners spend incredible amounts of money and include every idea they love. The result felt busy. It feels overwhelming. When we design kitchens, we intentionally think about restraint. This creates a simple, thoughtful, quiet interior. The ones that feel like real luxury. The difference is never the budget. It's having the confidence to leave something out. The last thing I like to do before I call a design finish is take something away. And that's the real secret. A kitchen that looks inexpensive is usually trying too hard. A kitchen that looks expensive knows when to stop. And when you step back, every one of those 11 ideas has something in common. None of these start with a price tag, but here's how I would summarize this. Run the stone all the way up the wall. Panel your appliances, taking the cabinetry to the ceiling, mixing finishes instead of matching everything. Investing in the things you actually touch every day. Layer your lighting. Leave empty space. Choose honest materials that will age beautifully. Building details instead of just buying products. Getting your proportions right. And finally, knowing what to leave out. Yes, some of these decisions do cost. Some of them don't cost anything. But after more than 25 years of designing kitchens and building them, I've learned something. A kitchen doesn't look expensive because someone spent more money. It looks expensive because every decision was intentional. Beauty is in the details. And that's a good news. Intentional is available for every single budget. So if you're planning a kitchen, don't ask yourself, what can I add to make this more expensive? Ask yourself, what will I still love in 5 years from now? And that's the real test. Get that right, and even a simple kitchen will feel extraordinary. Get that wrong, and even an enormous budget cannot create that feeling. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 11 ideas surprised you the most? Or which one you would absolutely include in your own kitchen? And let me know in the comments. A lot of my videos come directly from the questions you ask. And if you enjoyed this one, make sure to click below and subscribe. In my next video, I'm going to walk you through a kitchen materials I will choose for my own kitchen. And just as important, the ones that I will never use again after seeing how they age. And I'll see you in the next one.